guys, it's Getting Real with Cockney Buddha. Coming all the way from sunny Florida. Sunny and hot, blimey, is it? The old temperatures are going up, I can feel it. I don't know where spring went. Seemed to vanish, spring. But now you can feel it. The trees are springing. The azalea plants, they show their flowers first and they're blooming. And it's my wife's birthday today, and this is who this is dedicated to, and about relationships. So happy birthday, Tracy, I love you. It's been 30 years this year that we've been married. So grab yourself a cup of tea or a nice cup of coffee. That reminds me, my daughter says she was going to make me a pot of coffee, and there ain't one. What? But I do have a tea. So sit down, relax, and tune in. Yeah. My wife, Tracy, wow. There's a one heck of a story there on how we met, and it's, you know, think about it. There I am, a London boy, over in London, born and raised in London, and I broke every rule. I said I'd never leave London, I'd never be married, I'd never have kids. I broke every single bloody rule, and I was adamant about it. But it came, you know, there I was over here on holiday. I just split up with a girl that I had been dating for 6.5 years. And I had some money in the bank because I was looking to buy a gaff. And when you could in London. I don't know about now, blimey. But so I had a bit of dough saved up, and my mate was coming over to the US, and he was dating an American girl over here, and I always wanted to come to the US because I was hugely into heavy metal and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and you name it, right? And of course it was all like California and I was into bodybuilding then, and Golds and World's gyms were over here. It was a big, and there was all the American magazines I used to read, and I thought, I want to go to the US. So then I had a kind of a bit of an opportunity. I was a bit of a cheeky bastard, right? Because there I goes up to me mate, going, "Hey, you're going over to the US this year?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and it was all being arranged and all that with his girl, like over here, American girl. And I'm like, "Yeah, you don't mind if I tag along, do you?" And he's like, "Yeah." He was coming over for 3 weeks, and he's like, let me obviously ask. I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So anyway, I ended up talking to the girl, and she's like, "Shit, yeah, come on over," right? And I'm like, "All right, banging." So it was one heck of a holiday. Holy shit. It was a banging holiday. There was so much shit that we got up to, my mate and I, and never seen before. And God blimey, travelling around and that. It was crazy. We saw all kinds of shit that we saw on TV and thought that don't exist really. And all of a sudden it's there in front of our eyes, and we're like, what? Like helicopters landing on a road because there's like a car accident and shit like that. And we're looking at it like, did we just turn up to a freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? What's going on here? And the cop's standing in front of our car, and he's going, get back. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And I look at my mate, there's shit everywhere, there's chaos going on. And I look over at my mate, we're typical tourists. We're like, what? Right? And my mate's still edging forward, and his copper got well mad. Yeah, we backed up then, boy. We backed up then. Shit, did we? Yeah. Yeah, we backed up then. As soon as he started getting a bit naughty, it was like, all right, shit, mate. You know, do you know what the reverse bit is on this motor? But yeah, we had an absolute blast, and in that process, met my wife in that blast because she was coming up. We were staying up in Maryland at that time, which is a beautiful part of the country, by the way. If you've never been up into Maryland, it's a really nice area up there. It's, you know, and then you got things close by, like Virginia's beautiful in the autumn when the leaves are starting to turn, and it's really nice up that way. You're not far from getting up in the mountains and stuff like that. It's a lovely area up that way. And so we were staying there, and the friend, we were out one night. I remember it. We were out having dinner, and there was, you know, my mate, his girlfriend, and me. And she goes, "Oh, I got a mate coming up that's going to be staying with us for a while." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." So she's like, "Yeah." Now I'm automatically thinking, you know, where are we gonna? Because we was in an apartment, and the friend had a roommate. Thank God he wasn't there much, but you know, there was a few nights that he was there, but it just all made for the fun. Well, I remember. I mean, thank God I don't drink no more. Crying out loud. Because, you know, I remember when we got into the States and then we got into her apartment, I'm like, right, come on, let's go and get booze. And of course, Guns N' Roses were big into freaking Jack Daniels and all that because I'd seen them with pictures of bottles of Jack. So I'm like, I'm getting some Jack. Over Jack Daniels. No, that's what we did, man. We got, jeez. Because we were getting like decent exchange rate too for the pound note. And, so all of a sudden, my wife turns up at the front door, and I was the one that answered the front door when she turned up. She's just driven, I don't know, 16 hours or whatever it is, straight up I-95 from Florida up. And I opened the door, and I go, "Hello," and she stepped back and looked at she's like, and says her friend's name. I ain't going to say the friend's name. I nearly did then, but I'm not going to. And I'm like, yeah. And she's looking at me like, who are you? Because there I am with this bloody accent. And that's when it all kicked off. It all started from there. And who the heck knew it was going to turn into me eventually moving? I gave her the option of coming to London. She had just started the career here. I was working in the House of Commons at that time. And things were changing hands, and I was like, I don't know about this. You know, it's getting a bit naughty for me, just because I just felt uncomfortable a little bit. And she's like, no, well, I just started because we got to that point. We was making phone calls all the time, and you know, the visits and stuff like that. And it got to that point where it's like, what are we doing here? We're 4,000 miles away from each other. What are we going to do here? We're at that point. What are we doing? Are we gonna make this work or what? And you know, that was when we was like, all right, I'll move over here then, because I didn't really care where she was. She could have been freaking some island off of, I don't know, wherever, and I would have gone, I think. And I made that choice, and I'm glad I did. I'm absolutely glad I did. And that's what I mean about taking those risks, guys. You just don't know. You might not know whether things are going to actually work or not, but unless you actually take that step and move forward, you don't know. You don't know. The beauty of the piece of my wife and I's relationship was we did a shit ton of communication, a shit ton. We were calling each other whenever we could. Definitely on Sundays, we used to do it for a couple of hours each way. We used to take turns, which came to extraordinary bills. So you already know that these people are committed to each other. And we knew about each other pretty well through conversations. You know, you just got to get the other bit and see whether, you know, you're good together, like. But, you know, and that first test was when, you know, we made the choice. I came over here. I got frigging questioned at him because I was coming in just like about a month after I'd been here. And of course they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I was actually going to a wedding, but I just wasn't like hopping back. um, but anyway, you could have a visa here that, well, then I don't know what the rules are now, but back then you didn't have to have a visa. You could stay here for 3 months, and that's what we were gonna do. We were gonna see what goes on, what happens, blah blah blah. I had shipped my stuff from here, so it was a commitment from England. Sorry, so it was a commitment to here. If we hadn't have got along, it was one of those things. What you got to make the choices. If it might not have worked out within those 3 months. Who knew, right? But and then 5 days later, my dad passed, and that was the first test, right there, because I'd only been here 5 days, and it's like, right now, what happens now? I was an absolute freaking basket case. I went a bit freaking pear shaped, yeah, there's a lot of stories around that, because there's the fear. Here I am. I knew there was culture shock that was going on, because even though we are both English speaking countries, you think is not going to be that difference, but bloody hell, there is. There is. And I didn't want to, I realised I was a foreigner in the country. I realised I was an immigrant. And not that anybody was making any remarks or anything like that, but when I would hear someone say, "Oh, where are you from?" I would take that as a like, "Uh-oh, oh shit, keep quiet, you fucking, you're not supposed to be here," kind of thing. You're an immigrant. And I, it took me a long time to be able to, and therapists as well, that my wife backed me up completely. But, and the therapist saying, about my accent, and they're like, "You freaking kidding me?" Right? But with me, it was like, no. So then we got my dad passed on, and then it came down to the commitment. What are we doing? There was no way in hell, if we were going to make it work, that I was going to be able to get back, do the funeral and that, and get back here, because I wouldn't have got back. There's no way. And so my wife starts getting on the lawyers, asking lawyers, what do we do? And she got off. Thank God they was giving us some time for free, because we didn't have any money. And she gets off the phone with one, I remember it, and she goes, "Got to get married." I went, "What?" What? We knew it was pretty much there. We knew that, but when it's all of a sudden, hang on a minute, that moved it forward about 2-3 months. Right? But that commitment that she gave me, amazing. And that commitment as well, because there was commitment on both sides, right? There was that commitment of me, and that's something that is solid. When you're doing something and you commit, you don't know. You don't know whether it's going to go the right way or not. You're committing because there's a certain something there that you know. Now, if you're being controlled and manipulated and shit like that, then you may not know. You may think it's kind of normal, but when you start becoming aware of yourself doing everything for that person, or you're starting to realize that you're wearing things that person's saying, and you're not doing your own thing, and you're not having your own time and everything, then you might want to start being aware and start looking a little bit, because this might fall completely on deaf ears, because people think it's not. I know I know there's a lot of shit that I've looked at that I thought was all normal, and it ain't normal. So, so that commitment from my side, because I literally was leaving everything behind. Yeah, shipped my stuff, which I've still got some bits over there, but I left all my mates behind. I left all my family behind. And like I say, it was a choice that I made. I made alone. It was my decision. And if you would have said like 30 years ago that we'd be where we are now, I would have thought, you've got to be kidding me, because we didn't have anything. And my wife's commitment, she was the breadwinner. I couldn't work because we was going through the process with immigration at this point. So I couldn't work. We managed to get a stamp into my passport, and I missed the funeral and everything because I got back in I was like February, and he passed in the October. But I got back, and my wife came with me for the support and everything as well. And then we came, we come back here, and then my mental health started with the anxiety. That was getting really loud as well. And then when I started getting into work, and she's been nothing but a rock. Nothing but a rock. And let me tell you that the number one thing I believe in our relationship, and I spoke to my wife about this, but the number one thing in our relationship is trust. Number one thing, trust. Because she's been around relationships where she couldn't trust, and so have I. Thought I could, but like I say, there's an awareness, right? But when it comes to trust between my wife and I, my wife knows everything about me, and there's no. I'll give her my phone. She knows my passwords. I know hers, but I always forget them. She's always saying, what? And I'm like, I can't remember. But there's absolutely no. I have no worries whatsoever in that department, even when it comes to money. Now, when I first met my wife, she had debt up the yin yang because of school, which don't get me started on that. I think that they're robbing people with education, because blimey, you've got kids here that could be going to school and can't afford it, and they could be the next freaking Einstein, right? And we're pulling that back because of again, to me, a system that is like really the amount of money that goes into putting your child through school is crazy. Now, yes, they have good education system here. I don't know where they rank on the international scale. I know a good few years ago they were at like 35, and Britain was quite up there. And I'm not trying to compare anything. I'm just saying kind of like the way the amount of money goes into that system. And then, I looked at it came up on TV about the rankings on something, on schools or something, and internationally, and then it's just, freaking, of course I'm going to look and go, all right, where's Britain? And of course the bloody, my adopted country, I'm going to look at and go see what they're doing as well. Of course I am. But anyway, my wife stuck by me through thick and thin, and then and then it came to having children, which the drama didn't end there. These are the most happiest times of your life, and I was still going through a lot of anxiety, and not really getting any. Well, I was getting help for it for a good period of time, but and then it just got to the point where I was all done with it all. Which, if you listen to me through other podcasts, I don't pull no punches about that. I pulled myself out of everything, because none of it was working. But my missus has been there. Tracy's been there through the freaking thick of it all. And then when we decided we wanted to have kids, this opportunity came up for my wife to get her master's degree, because she's she's amazing at what she does with her work. She works for a great company. I won't shout the company. Those that know her will know the company anyway, and I probably have mentioned it. But they're a good company to work for, and she's worked through some ranks, and just she's out in Hong Kong right now because now they're starting up this whole new. Actually, she's flying back. She actually got into LA. I think she's on a plane coming back here now. But this whole, there's this whole new project that they're on, and I'm just so bloody proud of her. So yeah, and then she went. She had this chance that come up, and for the work to pay for her master's degree going through UCF, which was her old university, which was crazy. And then so she went and did that and studied, and I remember the study partner coming over, and I remember walking in the room one day and I'm looking at her book and it was just like a bunch of drawings on there, and I said, "What's that?" So she goes, "Math," and I went, "Math? There's no numbers on it." So she goes, "No, I know," and I'm like, "Is that math?" I'm looking at it, scratching my head like, what the, mind you, my limit was like, 3 plus 3. Nah, I shouldn't talk down about myself. I was better than that. We'll go with 11 plus 11. No, seriously. But no, she's been there. I mean, she's the reason I got into my therapist in the end, because it went a bit naughty, and yeah, so she got me in at my therapist. But back to my daughters. We had my first daughter, Trinity, and absolute amazing joy, first child. And then when we was going for our second, because we held off on the kids while my wife got her masters, and then we decided, okay, now we'll settle down and have the kids, because we was debating it, but she had this opportunity. So, but our second daughter, it came back that she was trisomy 18, and I'm like, I remember sitting in the doctor's going, "What's that?" And it was basically completely just nothing there, mind wise, and that I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know what a medical term for it is, but just just nothing there. And I looked at the doctor and I said, Are you talking like brain dead or something?" And he looked just stone face and just went, "Yeah," with nothing, no bedside manner, no what. And you just want to, and then there was a whole fear around that, huge fear around that. I remember coming away and my wife was going one way, I was going the other, and I thought, I've got to get over to my mate Eric, and I remember going over to him and walking into his shop, and he knew I was dead serious, and I said, "Dude, can I speak to you a minute?" And he said, "Shit, yeah, all right." I'm going to the office, and I told him, and he freaking welled up, and at this point I'm crying. It's the worst news you can get. I mean, crying out loud. I mean, what was bloody really crazy is I knew this bloody doctor was being a pain in the ass, because before that he was saying to us, "Oh, the child's going to be Downs," and so my wife and I came away and we're like, "All right, no biggie, deal with that. All right, we can do that." And of course, we go back, and I guess they didn't want to hear that because they wanted to do a freaking amnio, and so, and then we go back again, and he tells us that, because now he's like, so we're like, "Well, what? How do we know?" And he's like, "Well, you got to have an amnio." So, "Oh, hello, really? What? Line your pockets a little bit more." And then that ended up, I believe, it ended up my youngest coming too early. She was 2.5 months early. I think it was 2 months early. Was it? I think it was 2. I think it was 2 months. Could have been 3, actually. Something's saying 3 to me, but I think it was 2. But then she ends up coming, and we think it was that because my my wife's water broke early, and shit, that was like, anyway. That we got through it all. My wife, my nipper, my youngest, is brilliant. There's nothing wrong with her. Long blonde hair, blue eyes. It's like, oh shit, yeah, trouble. But yeah, my wife, we happen to be parents of two beautiful girls that my wife carried, and we've brought them up to be open-minded and be able to speak their mind. My wife and I both agree on it, and she backs my journey. This whole journey that I started like 5 years ago. I mean, she's fully on board with it and backs me all the way. And when I started getting equipment for obviously I earned it, but I don't look at it. I look at it as, well, it's still our dough, just because I'm earning it, it doesn't mean it's mine, you know what I mean? So, but she's backed me up all the way, and it's been absolutely awesome journey. Crazy story, all this. She makes me laugh, we've cried together. She leans on me, I lean on her. If things are getting a bit rough somewhere, she'll come to me and say, hey, what do you think of this and that? And, we figure things out. But that trust is number one. And get the help. If you have a partner and, both get some help. That's the other thing. If you want to put the time into each other, I believe everybody could get the help anyway, get some guidance or therapy from somewhere, because I think everybody's got something in the damn trash, right, that's rolling around and is stuck to the bottom of the trash can, right? And you can't like tip it out unless you get a little bit of help, right? I think we've all got a bit of that going on. But when it comes to relationships, I think it's quite important to both get some help to, either together. I have people that I've done individually, and then I've brought them together, and we've worked together as well. But I also see people that are going through some rough shit as well. When you're talking about control and manipulation and shit like that, there's people going through some heavy shit. And you want to get the help, but I think it takes the individual to go to where their shit's coming from as well. And then what that does is it really helps you to be able to see the other person as well and know that they have their shit. And sometimes they might fire off about something and you're like, oh, I know where that's coming from. That ain't aimed, it's aimed at you, but it's not really, there's something triggering it. So once you start becoming aware of the other, and again, unless you're being manipulated and controlled, and then it all becomes one-sided anyway, because you'll find yourself, you're constantly on that one side all the time. It's not about you, it's about them. But you won't know because you just think it's a normal pattern to do. You won't have a clue. So, looking out for that manipulation and control. And work through your shit. If you think that my wife and I don't argue, blimey. Yeah, we do. Yeah, heck yeah. We've been together for 30 years. We've been together for 30 years. Well, been together for 31 years, married nearly 30 years. And if you think we don't argue, holy shit. Yeah, we do. Right? But work the shit out. That's what I mean about therapy and all, because you can there's certain things that you can do, there's certain boundaries you can set, boundaries with you, boundaries with that other person. If there's no boundaries in a relationship, you're not respecting each other. So it can get a little bit naughty. And then, whose side does it fall on? So there's rules. Relationships ain't easy. But if you want to do good relationship and it's worth the work, it's worth it. So work through the shit. And that means, hearing things that you don't want to hear as well in therapy, because your ego is getting in the way. Thinking that, you're the one in control. No. It goes, let's look at it a little bit more closely there, right? The ego will mess things up because it's saying, better than, or whatever it is, or I'm giving more, or, it's a relationship if it works properly, or I say properly, I mean, what's that, right? But, yin and yang in everything. Yin and yang, balance. Sometimes it might come down to the other person a little bit more heavier. But as long as it balances and it ain't all one-sided, you rely on each other. One trick to do is, when you get up in the morning, or the first thing when you see each other, is ask what the other one's percent is, and out of 100 where they're at mentally and stuff, so that then whereabouts each other is and who's got that little bit more. So if the one person says I'm at 30% a day, I don't know, and you're at 60, then pick some of the slack up a little bit, because if you do, it's going to raise you up a little bit higher, because your worth's going to go up because you're helping the person out. But then that comes back the other way too. It's not all one-sided. So it's about working out your shit, and it's about working together, and it's about trusting each other. So big shout out to my wife. She comes back like early morning. I think she said she'd be in the house around 1. So I said I'm going to stay up. I normally can when I'm on my own. It's funny. But I'll drop off to sleep when my wife's sitting next to me. Go and check out my link tree at the bottom of the page in the descriptions, please. And if you need any one-on-one, I am certified in what I do. If you want some one-on-one help, hit me up across all my platforms. You can link up with me there. Go to my link tree, and I've got all my platforms there. You can grab hold of me any way you want on there, and we can work something out and get you set up and get you in on one-on-ones and get some help. But it's up to you to stretch out for that help. And go and check my YouTube channel out. I'm going to be doing a live Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. GMT time, guys. Thanks for listening.